All right, looks like we've got it. I'm going to share my screen, and then Ryan, I will just let you start.
Okay, do I have to get a motion in a second, or can I just call it to order?
You're going to need to. I don't remember. You know,
Okay,
you're the vice chair, so you get to choose. I know what we need to do is we need to approve the minutes from last time, the agenda. We also need to make sure that we have a quorum though to start. So, yeah.
okay, well, let's formally call the meeting to order. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's 5:03.
Aye.
Aye.
Leah's an aye too.
Awesome. Sorry, guys, I'm trying to work on one screen and I am not, this is not working for me. I will never try this one again. Do you know when you're so prepared, you have it all ready and it's all there, and then right as you're looking for it, you're like, it's hidden behind one of these screens. There it is.
Oh yeah, been there.
All right. So, okay, guys. So it's good to see you all. Thanks for being here, hanging out. This is our second Go Team meeting. We are well ahead of the game as it relates to other schools and Go Teams. This is our second, and most have not had their first. Many of them are having their first next week. So I feel good about it. But so welcome to VHE's Go Team meeting. We will follow the agenda as it has been posted and publicly noticed. So if you take a look at our school website, it is all there under our Go Team tab, Virginia-Highland Here's the Go Team tab. And under 2526 meeting information, you can find all of that info. So let me make sure I'm looking at a script real quick. So I am pleased call the Go Team meeting to order, as Ryan's already done. I will act in the capacity of interim Go Team chair for this meeting, but our first order of business is to call roll. So, Ms. Avasar, Carolyn, would you be so kind as to call roll?
Let's see.
And everyone needs to respond with the present, please.
Okay. I'll just go on the screen. Mr. Harness.
Present.
Miss Ree.
Present.
Raj Shah.
Present.
Rebecca Cagle. I saw Rebecca on there. She might be mute. Ryan Valduga.
Can others hear Caroline?
Oh, you don't hear me?
Yes.
I can hear Caroline. Can everyone else?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Ryan Valduga.
Present.
Mr. Norwood.
Present.
Leah Matthews.
Present.
Melissa Clark.
Present.
And Miss Nadine.
Present.
Oh, we got a full house.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So we can only take any official action if a quorum is present. Carolyn, is there a quorum present?
There is.
Sweet. All right. So we're going to move on. We're going to move right along. So our first order of business is to approve the agenda for this evening. Let me pull it up for you guys. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So here is our. Is this the right one?
Terry, we got to choose the August one.
Let's try again. Thank you for that. That would make total sense. There he is. All right, here it is. All right, may I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve.
May I have a second?
Second that motion.
Second.
Awesome. Are there any amendments to the agenda? All right. So our agenda has been approved. Guys, and you have to forgive me. I'm going through the script and there's a ton. Okay, so what we need to do at this point is fill the one vacant, we need to see whether the one person that at our last meeting that we nominated to be our Go Team chair would like to accept that position. Last week, we also filled 2 vacant seats. We filled the vacant seat of our community member and our swing seat. So both Rashawn and Leah Matthews are present. So Raj and Leah, welcome to the Go team. Thank you for being so willing to join us and to work with us this school year. Raj, Leah, Leah, I don't know why I keep saying Leah. Leah, would you like to say anything to the team or to our Go team or to those out there just to introduce yourself?
Sure, and you can call me Leah. I'll answer to anything.
Matthews.
Yes, I'm Leah. I served on the startup PTO when we were starting the school. And then I have 2 kids at VHE, Jonah in 4th grade and Lila in 1st grade. And I have a 3-year-old. So I'm going to be at VHE for quite some time.
And we
Hello,
we're
everyone.
glad to have you.
Thank you.
Raj Shah, excited to be the community seat member this year. I live in Virginia-Highland, so I have a 1st grader. I work at McKinsey & Company, and my background is in youth development, and very excited to be part of this group.
All right. Thank you, Raj. Raj has an awesome kiddo. She got to be my principal for the day and was bossing us all around. She was awesome. All right. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and let our Go Team chair. I take that back. Yes, we have nominated Rebecca Cagle as our Go Team chair, but we needed Rebecca to officially accept that nomination. So Rebecca, you were nominated because you're all that and then some. You are awesome. Would you like to accept that nomination?
I will gladly accept as long as Raj and Leah don't want to self-nominate.
Yeah, I'm good with you taking that nomination.
Same here.
Okay, that's how we function. We keep it simple. Thank you so very much. So let's see. Would any of the nominees like to decline if there are no further nominations? Okay, so we are going to begin the confirmation process. We have 1 person being considered for the chair seat. The nomination is Rebecca Cagle. At this time, I want to offer that chair nominee an opportunity to explain why they are the best candidate for the position or why they're the only candidate for the position. Other Go Team members may ask the nominees questions before voting. So, Rebecca, anything that you'd like to say?
Just that I've really enjoyed bringing whatever professional skills I have to bear on the Go team and with this great group of people in our school community. And so I'd be honored to be chair again. I wouldn't claim that I think I'm the best candidate for the role, but I'd be honored to fulfill the duties this year.
All right. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and vote. So please raise your hand to vote for your choice of chair. Those in favor of voting for Rebecca Cagle, please raise your hand. I see Leah's got her virtual hand raised. Looks like everyone else does. And Carolyn, if you'd be so kind as to make sure that you note that. All right. How many total votes do we have, Carolyn?
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I believe.
So it is
That sound
official
right?
and it sounds like it is unanimous. So are there any abstentions? Nope. So then, you know what, Rebecca Cagle, congratulations. You will serve as the Go Team chair for the school year. And I got to say, Rebecca, you've been a joy to work with. I've been super impressed with how you are so willing to meet with members of our community about any range of topics for whatever amount of time that you've needed to. So thank you for continuing to do that. Thank you for doing that. I mean, honestly, it really is it's pretty impressive that you're willing to give that time. So thank you so very, very much. And I'm looking forward to working with you again. So with all of that being said, I wish I could just turn it right on over to you, Rebecca, but you know what? I think I still have to be the acting person. It's okay. It's all right. We've
Well
done
timed
everything.
because I'm at a soccer practice. So
Okay.
by all means.
Okay, no problem. Okay, so then just to make sure that we've got everything else. So last meeting, we reviewed and approved our public comment protocol. We also set our norms. We set our Go Team meeting calendar. I want to say thank you to everyone for the 5 o'clock start time. That is lovely. Been wanting that for about 10 years now. It's the first time I got it. It's awesome. So anyway, let's see, what else do we have? Our Go Team norms, like I mentioned. All right, so we're going to go right into the agenda. So just taking a look at everything and making sure that everyone knows what we will be talking about. I'm going to go to this route right here. There's a lot on the agenda to discuss, and I want you all to know that you're welcome to stop me at any point, ask any questions. But so here's our agenda in a nutshell. We will discuss briefly the strategic plan, the priorities and review. We'll do a little bit of a data discussion with the spring map scores and our Georgia milestones, which we got our preliminary, well, we got some really good information a few days ago. I was not able to dig super deep into it, so I want to make sure that that is clear, that I do want to come back to milestones in September. So we will kind of go, we will go through that again. We're going to talk about stakeholder engagement at VHE. And then I'm also going to give you an update on our current enrollment and the potential leveling that we may have to go through, and any other information about our school. And then last but not least, APS Forward 2040, that comprehensive long-range facilities plan. And Melissa, you may be able to speak to that far better than I can. And she is our cluster advisory team rep. So with that being said, we're just going to go ahead and move through our slide deck. And again, please stop me if you need me. All right, guys, if you remember this document, it's a lot on one whole page, but this is our school strategic plan. This was developed with your support and the support of our administrative team and our grade chairs and our teachers. These are all of the priorities as it is related to the 4 buckets that are on the side: fostering academic excellence, building a culture of student support, equipping and empowering leaders, and creating a system of school support. And at the very top, you'll see in green our SMART goals. Our goals are all related to doing whatever we can to increase the cohesion and instructional approaches and curriculum, both horizontally and vertically, for pre-K through 5th grade. We also want to increase the overall attendance rates in all grades from our baseline of 23-24, but we will also use the 25-26 or the 24-25 data as well. Implementing an MTSS multi-tiered system of supports that include research-based interventions, and it moves our students to working more on grade level. And then last but not least, doing whatever we can to increase our family engagement. And that family engagement piece is a huge goal of the district. And even though we are in a community, a school where we have wonderful participation and engagement, there are still pockets of parents and families that we want to reach out to and encourage to be a part of our overall school community, and just to be aware of what is going on in the building as it relates to just events, but also what their students or what their children are learning throughout the entire school year. In the middle, you see that there are strategic priorities. There's a total of 10 of them, a total of 10. And one of the things that we were charged with doing with these particular priorities is ranking them, priority ranking them. And this is what we settled on last year, and it was voted on and approved that this would be our priority ranking. So the first was to improve the academic achievement levels in math, reading, and science by increasing the percentage of students scoring in proficient and distinguished categories on map testing and milestones. We also want to make sure that we are very cognizant and aware of the importance of closing academic gaps, particularly in our subgroups, our ESOL, our students with disabilities, our African-American students, our Hispanic students. So we have, in order to do that, we have to be aware that we need to know what those gaps are, and then have a plan to address them specifically. We also understand the importance of implementing a comprehensive multi-tiered system of support, and that MTSS process honestly is all about figuring out what the gaps are for our kids, and then providing them with additional support through a tiered system where they're getting additional support either from their homeroom teacher or potentially someone else throughout the week, in addition to their regular academic classroom or classes and what they're doing with their teachers. Number 3, creating an inclusive school environment. We want to make sure that every student feels safe, valued, and supported, that all the families feel safe, valued, and supported. So we want to create an environment that is inclusive of everyone. Enhancing teacher and staff retention rates and efforts. This is a big one for me. We want to invest and leverage our staff's knowledge And we're going to continue to do that through professional development, but we want to keep them here. If we're investing in them, we want to capitalize on the fruits of that labor in terms of working with our kids. Building capacity across all grade levels, giving teachers the opportunities to continue to add to their toolbox, to try things that are a little different, but also giving them the tools needed to be confident in what it is that they are teaching students, regardless of the grade level. Equitable resources, meaning that every one of our kids, all of our grade levels, whether it is our largest grade levels happen to be like teachers with grade levels with 6 teachers, that is first, second, and third grades. But we want to make sure that even though they may be the largest, we want to make sure that our resources are equitable across the board, even for our pre-K kids where we only have one class of 20 kids, or our 4th and 5th grade where we only have 4 classes of children in those grade levels. So we want to distribute the love equally. Fostering a culture of shared accountability. This is a big one for me, where I do believe in the importance of engaging all stakeholders, that teacher, staff, families, and community members, that they are a part of the process in setting and achieving common goals for our kids. Last 2, developing cross-school collaboration networks. So the professional learning communities we do every Wednesday, we want to continue to do that in a way where we're building the capacity of our teachers, but also doing it in a way that we bring in business partners or school partners to share in best practices, resources, and any innovative solutions that we can come up with in those collaborative partnerships. And last but not least, empowering students and parents as active participants in their child's education. Now, this is huge, regardless of it being the last priority ranking. Just want to put that out there. We have a lot of parents who want the exact same things that we do. We want high achieving students, but we also want to make sure that we are growing those students and meeting them where they are, regardless of their background, regardless of the grade in which they currently are in. We want to continue to push them and raise those levels of expectations to ensure that they are growing in both reading, math, science, and any content area across the board. I'm going to jump on into spring map. I think last year in the Go Team session, I think I was showing, or I think I may have focused more on the fall winter map scores. So I just kind of wanted to bring the spring map to light a little bit more, and then also go over the Georgia milestones. All right, so if you take a look on the screen, just to kind of give you some understanding, if you see the red, that is all about students who are in the beginning stages of learning in terms of their academic achievement. The yellow is developing. We want our kids to live in the greens. The lighter green is proficient, and then the darker green is what we refer to as distinguished. This is the overall spring map comparison of the schools in Atlanta Public Schools, and this combines both reading and math overall. So you'll see where we are doing pretty well overall. 37% of our kids at the distinguished level, 38% of our kids at the proficient level. We had 19 in the developing level, and 6% of them, and again, this is for map, this is 2nd through 5th grade, 6% of them are at the beginning level. I got to say, this past year, in my personal opinion, and maybe Mr. Norwood or Miss Ree or whomever, and Miss Nadine can attest to this, but we started out the year with 80 plus kids that were not in our projection. Out of those 80, there were 35-ish that were in our upper grades, so 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. 2nd grade had about 15 additional kids that were not on our original projection roster as we started. So what was interesting about that, well, first, we didn't expect to have an additional 80 children. So they came, where they're living in Virginia-Highland, Midtown, or the majority of them were like in the southern side of Morningside. There were some in Ansley Park, some in Sherwood Forest, but we had a huge group of children that came from all different walks of life, whether they were through other APS schools or other states, but it was a lot, not going to pretend. Also last year, this past year, we no longer had that 30-minute wise out, or what do we refer to it? The enrichment, the
Wise time.
block that we had. Yeah, the wise out time. It was that 30 minutes really supported the kids that needed it the most. And not having that additional 30 minutes was definitely a gap that I think the teachers felt. And I certainly felt it. I remember way back when COVID happened and we added this 30 minutes, we were all like, oh my gosh, another 30 minutes every single day. And by the end of the 3 years of that additional 30 minutes, we were thinking, oh my gosh, what are we going to do without that 30 minutes? So there were some changes that we encountered last year that were surprising with the additional kids, but also I wish we could have figured out something where we could have done something similar to what we did with that 30 minutes. But the truth of the matter is that we have a standard of service and an amount of time that we have to teach everything. And that 30 minutes was just not something we could build into our regular schedule. So just putting that out there, but you can see where we fall. I feel pretty strong about this. One thing that changed dramatically with the addition of those 80 students was our challenge index. Our challenge index was the percentage of students who were in the who are free and reduced lunch. Like how many more students did we add who were receiving free and reduced lunch? And it jumped up pretty significantly. We went from 17% challenge index to 24% as a result of the additional 80 kids that joined us. So that causes some challenges. That's why it's called the challenge index, because we want to make sure that we're giving them everything that we can, while still working within the parameters of this is the amount of teachers that we had to start, and we still had to provide the services needed for any amount of additional kid, or even if we lost kids, we would have still had to provide those services. So it was a lot to contend with last year. If we take a look right now, this is fall and spring map comparison overall. So again, this is both reading and math combined. You can see where we fall right here. And this is the comparison of VHE in the fall and in the spring. And we want to see that we are trending up, and we most certainly did trend up. All right. So, and that is what we want to make sure that we are doing each and every administration of map and or milestones. This is just reading overall. So if you take a look at it, feel really good about where we landed, about the distinguished category. My mother's calling me. I don't know why. Anyway, the distinguished category and our beginning at 7%. Feel very strong about this, considering, again, our challenge index rising. In comparison, Lynn and Morningside, Lynn has a challenge index like in the single digits, I think maybe 4 to 5%, if I'm not mistaken, and Morningside is around 7 to 8%. So we're doing really well in comparison. Springdale Park, we actually overtook them in their challenge index. They were 1 or 2 points ahead of us, but now we're about 5 percentage points additional in our challenge index compared to Spark. We are most similar to Brandon Elementary and to Jackson Elementary. So those are the two schools that we have a super similar demographic population. All right, here's the fall spring map comparison for reading. You can see again, as I mentioned earlier, we want to see that we are trending up. So we love when we see kids moving from the distinguished into, or 37%, we've got more kids in the distinguished category, et cetera. So that is exactly what we would want to see from the beginning of the year to the very end of the year. Here's our growth in reading overall for last year. And again, this is 2nd through 5th grade. So we were leading the district in reading growth. I mean, it's a huge accomplishment. The dark green means that they exceeded their growth targets and expectations. The lighter green means that they met their growth target. And then, of course, there is still 31% of our kids that did not meet their growth targets. I mentioned this before. Just because they didn't meet their growth target does not mean they did not grow. They grew, they just didn't meet the target. But our goal is to make sure that everyone, or do whatever we can to make sure that everyone is meeting their target. Here's comparison for math. You can see where we fall. Math, some interesting things about this, particularly that sticks out to me, is that we're doing well overall with the total amount of students that are developing and above, with only 5% of our kids falling into that beginning range. Happy with that. Super excited, but what I would like to see is this 22% drop, drop, but more of them to move over into the proficiency, into the light green proficient era. And we would also want to see more of the proficient students move into the distinguished categories. One thing that sticks out big to me is Spark at 42%. They're using a similar program to what we are using, but they are most certainly having some amazing impact as it relates to students in that distinguished category. Do I think that we can do better? Yeah, absolutely we can. Here's the fall spring comparison, just so you can see. Again, we are still trending up. So in fall, with the first math assessment for math, we were at the 27th percentile for distinguished, and we jumped up to 33. And then you can see that we do have a higher percentage in the spring compared to fall of students that fell in proficient and distinguished. Here's the growth overall. So this is our fall to spring growth for math. Spark did overtake us at the very, I think there was like a couple students. It was very neck and neck. But this looks pretty good to me. So we will 100% take that. But what is really cool about that is 76% of all of our math kids, all of our kids in 2nd through 5th grade, met their target. 71% of them exceeded their growth target as well. So these are good things. These are not easy numbers to outdo, being real. But you know what? It does give us something to work towards and to strive towards. So very happy and proud of what we are doing as it relates from fall to spring math. All right, here's it's just a graph so you can kind of see the subgroup breakdown, the ethnic breakdown in both math and reading. We would want to see that second column go up. So here's our Asian population. In fall, they started at 92% of proficient and above, and then they jumped up to 96. Our African-American population jumped up from 30 to 38% in math, jumped up in Hispanic population, 2 more races, and then our Caucasian population. In reading, we saw the exact same trends. And then even here, the district was outperforming our mixed students in the area of reading. But then by the end of the school year, we jumped ahead of the district. What I really was excited to see is this right here. 54% of our African-American subgroups proficient and or above. We do still have work to do, but in comparison to the district, we're doing really, really well in the reading category. So that's a lot of hard work. I feel confident that with math, that we can see similar gains that we're seeing in the reading realm. We're just going to have to do a little bit more targeted support in the area of math. Fall and spring math comparison. Here's our ESOL population, just so you can see math and reading up at the very top. The darker blue is our EL population, 36 to 44%. And then we did take a dip in reading, 43 to 31%. What I noticed about this particularly is, how can I put this? We had a number of our ESOL students that started to withdraw, and it did impact some of the things that we were doing. They started to withdraw in like January, February, but at the same rate, many of the ones who did withdraw, they were with us for a pretty long period of time, whether they were at Spark or whether they were with us at VHE from our first school year. Any new students that we received, so within that 43 to that 31%, we had a lot of brand new students that came in from different countries. For example, we had a number of students that came in from Russia. We had a number of students that came in from the Ukraine, and they came in with very limited English overall. They're still doing really great, and they're some of honestly, the sweetest children, and they work so hard. But let's be real. Coming in, being tested in reading in a language that is not your own is not always going to be the easiest thing to do. But you know what? I'm very proud of their work because it's hard, but they did a really, really good job. We need to continue to work on the reading piece. We currently only have one ESOL teacher, and that one teacher is assigned to us by the district, and she is responsible for all K-5 ESOL. That is a huge thing to do. And just for a second, just imagine what her schedule is like. She has all K through 5 ESOL students. That schedule that she runs is pretty tight, but admittedly, Miss English does a phenomenal job. Our EL students, they take a test called Access, and it tests their language proficiency. And she had a large number of kids, one of the largest, honestly, to test out of ESOL as a result of the efforts in just making sure that they're learning the language. So, but we still have work to do, making sure that they comprehend what it is that they're reading and being able to actually navigate, answer questions, and write in English in terms of mastering those standards. So we've got work to do. Fall and spring map, here's our students with disabilities. The darker orange are for our students with disabilities you see in math. So you've got a little bit more information here, 23, 24, 24, 25. So what am I seeing here? Well, first and foremost, we had a number, and Miss Nadine, maybe you can attest to this, we had a number of new students that came to us last year that came with IEPs within that 80, those additional 80 kids. That was a big deal, because what ends up happening is we started our year out last year with 3 teachers, and then by January we were finally given another teacher because we needed the additional time, because we want to provide them with the support that they need. I want to say that a part of the reason why we don't see as much growth, they grew, but not as much as we would have preferred, is because we did have to, we had to wait for that additional teacher to come on board, which alleviated the huge caseloads that teachers like Miss Nadine had, and then to also provide more targeted one-on-one support to our kids. We're still growing, but we still have a lot more to do. Any questions about any of that? Y'all can always stop me, I'll just keep going. Bree, no? Carolyn, Raj, Melissa? All right. Okay, so this is Georgia Milestones. It is no longer embargoed. So this is the first thing I wanted to show you. This is the challenge index. So these are what you're seeing on the screen is a line that basically goes from at the very bottom down here is the challenge index. So it's the percentage of students that are at the free and reduced lunch level and where the schools in Atlanta Public Schools fall as it relates to that challenge index. And then when you see we are up here, so it's showing that our challenge index is right around that 20th percentile as it relates to the ELA reading. Keeping in mind, Georgia Milestones is 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So this is removing 2nd grade out of the picture. What you would want to see happen is that this line, you would want to see every school above this line, because that is where it's showing that our achievement and our growth is happening. So we want to be on the other side of that line as high as possible. And you can kind of see where we all fall. So you see where Lynn is, you see where Morningside is, you see where Springdale Park, and you see where VHE is, and this is in the area of reading. So again, feeling very good about where we are. But again, I still feel like, and I think my teachers get tired of hearing me say this. There was a teacher who said, but aren't we doing really good? And she was right. The answer is right. But we are doing really, really well. I have extraordinarily high expectations, and I really would like to see our kids at, I want to always do whatever we can for our kids, but we also need to take the time to celebrate. And she was absolutely right. I'm very proud of what our teachers are doing. We do have some incredible teachers. So just so you can see what our, taking a look at overall the reading for milestones. So keeping in mind too, that our ESOL students, they take milestones just like everybody else, whether they know the language or not. And then all of our subgroups take it as well. So this is where we fell in reading as it relates to Georgia Milestones. I'm good with it. I feel good about it. What I'm really proud of is to see that 45% in the distinguished category, but then overall 94% of all of our kids at the developing or above. That is what we want to see. So we are in the 90s. Can we do more? Can we do better? Absolutely. Absolutely. And will we continue to push? Absolutely. And kudos to Spark and Lynn. And I'll be honest, ANCS, that's one of the first times I've seen them pop up there. So, hey, good for them, Morningside, Jackson, and VHE.
I'm so proud of our distinguished, especially. That's really great. Numbers are good.
Yeah, they are good. They're very, very good. All right, so here's our math. You can see where we fall right there with math. Reading has always been our bread and butter, but we usually do very, very well in math as as well. And we still did very well in math. You can see where we fell. We are above the line. You can see that the challenge index for math, we're right at that 20th percentile. And when I said that our challenge index went up to 24%, if you were to look at individual grade levels, particularly last year's third graders, this year's fourth graders, they were the one who had the biggest challenge index increase. And they were also the group that, from an achievement level, they did not do as well, in my opinion, as what we have seen in the past. But it makes sense when you think about it. We've got to put more effort and time into those third graders, but still, overall, doing really, really well. And you can see the other schools as it relates to the Midtown cluster. And again, here's Brandon and Jackson. They're the cohort of schools that we are most similar to. You see how Spark did incredible stuff, Lynn and Morningside. There's ANCS, that was that classical school in reading where they jumped up. So they're doing some good stuff over there too. All right, so here we are with the math overall. So VHE at 95% of all of our kids developing and above. That 48th percentile for the distinguished category, feel good about it. But I'll be honest, that 55% is what I want. But yeah, but still, everything we're doing really, really well. And again, I've got to stay more focused on being celebratory as opposed to kind of just looking, towards the negative. My eyes always go to the red, no matter what. I can close my eyes and try it again, goes to the red. But in the grand scheme of things, 5% of all of our kids at the beginning level, we'll take it. But those 5%, they did a lot. And I got to be honest with you, in terms of our growth, they grew significantly. They just didn't grow to the point where they got into the developing level. And we're going to keep pushing because eventually it is going to happen. Fifth grade is where you start to really see them moving into developing and even in proficient. And here's our Georgia Milestone Science. So our science scores, you see where we are, right up there with Spark. So super proud of the science scores overall. I think when we looked at them and we saw them initially, we were like, whoa, it was pretty impressive. Yeah. And this has everything to do with our teachers, our supports, our coaches, and the understanding and the importance of integrating curriculum when you can. Not forcing it, but making it happen, because that's how we see our world day in, day out. There's nothing that is done necessarily in silos. It all works in conjunction with one another. And I think we saw the fruits of our labors as it relates to this. Very, very proud of VHE. And again, Springdale Park, knocking it out of the park. So here's our milestone science overall, 94% of all of our kids. But listen, y'all, so if we have fifth graders who are scoring at the 64th percentile for distinguished, 27th percentile in proficient, these are the same kids that were scoring, in reading and math. If they can do this, then I know they can do the same thing in reading. They can do the same thing in math. Out of curiosity, why do you think they're doing better in science? Bree, don't say anything, or Mr. Norwood, or Ms. Nadine. Why do y'all think? I'm just curious. Anyone? What do you think, Carolyn?
I don't know.
Bree, what would you say? I have my own thoughts.
Well, I mean, I'm kind of biased in this area because I've worked with these teachers so much. I mean, there's a multiple things I can think of. A lot of explicit instruction, a lot of interdisciplinary just lessons, a lot of hard work from the teachers from the beginning to the end, a lot of cumulative reviews, a lot of focus on reading comprehension, as well, as opposed to just learning science content. Really using that time wisely. They don't have a lot of time during that isolated block, so they do a really good job of trying to incorporate it in the other curriculum areas. I mean, these teachers worked really hard all year, and they work so well together. We have a ton of resources that we've collected over the years. Last year, the teachers, I mean, no one with the new teachers, we all had stuff to bring. And they just all worked really well together, I thought.
Yeah. I think if you were to ask the kids, they will say Well, it's fun. And let's be real. I mean, I think it is. It's the most hands-on learning that they get to do, and they get to do that often with, their friends in their class, but it's not just something that they're doing alone, right? They are learning collaboratively. But super proud of their efforts. But this definitely tells me if they can do this, because there's a lot of reading in science. If they can do this, they can do the same thing in reading, and they can do the same thing in math. So we're going to have to figure out that piece. Science is super fun and hands-on. What can we do to make reading and math something similar? Mr. Norwood, Miss Nadine, any thoughts on that? I don't want to shortchange you.
Same thing. I was just saying more hands-on. The kids have fun with science for me. So it's more hands-on. They see what you're doing, and you have visual learners.
Yeah, it definitely helps. Mr. Norwood, anything?
For me, if I think about myself as a learner, I always enjoyed science more because it was hands-on. I think reading and math are, more concrete, and this is how you do it. However, science, you get to experiment with things. So I think kids definitely enjoy that more so than math and reading.
And I do want to reiterate I'm sorry, for the rest of the team that, even though it's fifth graders are the only ones taking the test, I mean, this is definitely a build up from when they were younger, right? I mean, these teachers from K on, like when we meet for PLCs, we're talking about a lot of the similar content, but you build it in different ways that's age appropriate. So it's not like they get to fifth grade and just do hands-on, right, from there. I mean, it's over the years that they learn how to incorporate these skills they've learned from K. So I think it's definitely a big, huge school team effort.
Yeah, I mean, it most certainly is. The base that our kinder through fourth grade teachers have created is strong. And honestly, in fifth grade, when you have that kind of base, you can do anything, and the kids are willing to do so much as a result. So yeah, very proud of that. Okay, moving on though. Here's a look at what happened in every grade level. Okay, so looking at ELA, that's reading. Third grade. Third grade was the grade that I said that we had a pretty large amount of new students. And this is not typical of what we would see. We would typically see in the Midtown cluster far more green overall. But we had kids that started with us in third grade last year, brand new to us in the district, and they came with gaps that we did a good job, I think, of filling. And you could see that through the growth, but it did not necessarily translate yet, and I say yet, into the proficient and or distinguished categories. But 92% of the kids at developing or above, that is still very, very good. When I was talking with a group of principals about this, we were having these conversations about our scores, et cetera. And there was a principal that looked at me and said, Terry, I wish my third graders could have those scores. And I'm like, you know what? I hear you. You're right. I'm proud of my third graders too. We've got work to do, and these are our current fourth graders. So we still have work to do, but then you can see what happens. Typically, you see kids improving achievement wise from third, fourth, and fifth in ELA. Fourth does a little better than third typically, and then fifth does a little bit better than fourth. But I mean, again, look at reading in our fifth grade teachers, how much the kids kind of just how much it just kind of skyrocketed. These are apples to oranges, but just saying this is typically the trend that we see at VHE and the trend that we did see at Spring Hill Park. In math, you see the progression as well, doing really, really well overall, but we still have work to do with that third grade group, which is our fourth grade group now. But still, we're seeing them grow. And then if I don't know if I put that, do I have that slide? Oh, so this is the other thing I wanted you to see. Here's the science from last year, from the 2024 school year to the 2025 school year. I mean, huge gains, right? I mean, crazy. We literally, and it's not because I didn't believe them, but when we saw it, we we're like, is that right? Did something happen? No, that is absolutely right. They did good stuff. But again, here is the comparison. Now, this is just comparing third graders for 2024 compared to the third graders in 2025. Again, this is apples to oranges. But you see in 2024 how that third grade group performed, and you see the difference in 2025. So we have a different population of kids at this point, and that's Okay, the same thing can be said for the fourth grade. Definitely had a dip, but then when you look at fifth, you saw that it still was trending up. They stayed pretty much on target. Math, you can see the same thing as it relates to our third grade students. You can see what happened here. Pretty much in the fourth grade, they stayed right around the same with two different groups. And then fifth grade, it went up just a little bit, but again, still two different groups of kids overall. So if we had to pick a grade level that we want to make sure that we're focusing our time and our attention to out of our current third, fourth, and fifth grade students, which grade would that be? Maria's mouthing something and she's saying fourth. Yes, fourth would be that group of kids. And just for additional context, our second grade group are very, very high achieving group. They're a very wise group as well. So I'm really excited to see what they do this year in third grade with MAP and with milestones too. But our third grade group, that our current fourth grade group, they are the ones that we are going to focus a lot of our attention to, but we're not going to lose sight of our other grade levels. All right, taking a look at some of our subgroups. In order to meet a subgroup, we have to have 15 students in third, fourth, and fifth grade combined in order for it to reflect or impact Georgia milestones. So for example, our ESOL subgroup, we lost some ESOL students. We only had 12 students that were tested in third, fourth, and fifth. That means we did not have a subgroup that will be counted and or in our CCRPI per the state. You have to have 15 or more. We do have, and for our African-American subgroup, we have, I think, maybe 40 to 50 kids in third, fourth, and fifth combined. So they are part of our subgroup that we want to make sure that we are taking into consideration and that we're looking at often. So this is how they did from proficient to proficient and distinguished. So 79.2% of our African-American subgroup scored at the proficient or distinguished level. Y'all should be like hooping and hollering and everything, but that is awesome. I mean, this is great stuff. You see where they kind of stayed, they plateaued right there with math, but then you also see the huge jump that we had as it relates to science from 24 to 25. Very happy with what we're seeing. Are we closing gaps? We are closing gaps. Does your principal want to close gaps faster? Yes. But I'm still going to celebrate. I'm very happy about the work again that our teachers are really knocking it out of the park. For our Hispanic subgroup, we have, I think there were 17 students that are Hispanic. And again, you can see in ELA and math, they are doing exceptionally well. And again, this is third, fourth, and fifth grade. So any questions as it relates to any milestones data? I do want to go through this more, but this week has been very busy. So I'm going to focus a little bit more time for the September just to kind of pull out some other pieces. I didn't get a chance to pull out how our gifted students are doing right now. How are our gifted students growing? Are they growing at a rate that is similar to students who are below grade level? Are we meeting them where they are, and what are we doing to continue to ensure that they are learning and that we're giving them exactly what it is that they need? So I'm going to dig into that, into some other things as well. All right, so our timeline for Go Teams. Now, we've already developed our school strategic plan, but in addition to taking a deeper dive into our milestones, we'll also next time talk about our continuous improvement plan. We've been waiting for our milestone scores to actually to place those in a continuous improvement plan. So it's more comprehensive and we're not just using one assessment item like MAP. We do want to take into consideration milestones as well. Questions? Go ahead, Raj.
I have a few, but do you want to go through the rest of the agenda? I know we still got to talk about.
Oh, no, go ahead, man.
First question is in your experience, is it easier to kind of move from red to yellow or yellow to light green for the milestones test? And
yeah, it's a great question. Honestly, so it is much easier to move from red to yellow or yellow to green. Typically, it's now when you get to the proficient and to the distinguished categories, it's harder to move them in many instances when it comes to growth, when it comes to pure growth. With that being said, why do I say it's harder for the green to move? honestly, because we have a number of our kids who are functioning at such high levels. We are an elementary school, and we have kids in our building that are able to do seventh grade, eighth grade, ninth grade math, algebra, all kinds of things. We had, if I'm not mistaken, Ree, maybe you can help me out. I think we had 4 students score perfect scores in math, right? Perfect scores in achievement in math, which is wonderful. That is a huge amount of students to score a perfect score, but they did not grow nearly as much as many of our kids that were in the red or the yellow. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think, sorry, jump in. I was gonna say, when you have such a high percentage, that's what he was saying, if your a kid is at the 99th percentile already, and then there is a goal for them as well. Again, like Mr. Harris was saying, they can still grow at a 99th percentile, but it's just not going to show up as a high growth all the time. So I think that's why it's important for teachers. We like to also look at the actual students, of course, and the numbers, and to see how much they have grown. On paper, they may have only grown. Well, it seems like it's small, but to us, they've made such gains, but sometimes it doesn't always come through on the graph.
Yeah, especially on the achievement side. But is it harder? Yes, but is it impossible? No. So that's the best way I could answer that. You said you had another question, Raj?
So just, I guess, big picture, there's like 600, 650 kids at VHE. There's a 24% challenge index. We have these subgroups, ESOL, students with disabilities, et cetera. So that's basically 175-ish kids at VHE, more or less, right? And so for each group, are there, targeted strategies? So for example, I know like last year, there were some kids during lunchtime who got additional math help, or kind of want to hear from you, what the different strategies are there. And then 2, at least anecdotally, I think, there were a lot of people who were encouraged to do summer school at VHE. What is your experience with parents taking them up on it? And, what can we do to make it a more positive thing in terms of, it's a good thing to do versus, I don't want to send my kid for XXX reason, which is
I get it.
what I've heard.
Yeah. So to answer the first part of your question, are there targeted support strategies specifically for our students with disabilities, for our ESOL students? The answer is yes. And we do those things through, and for any student that falls in the red and or yellow category, and even potentially some of the ones that are in the green, we do that through our MTSS program, which is the multi-tiered system of supports. A part of what we did last year is we were doing lunch buddy or after school tutorial. We looking at the data, not just purely map or milestones, but looking at teacher anecdotal data in terms of what they felt was necessary for specific kids. We selected students. So every homeroom teacher selected a minimum of 6 kids that they wanted to work with after school or during lunch bunch. And we saw within those groups of kids that were getting that additional support, they definitely grew, and they were moving from one band to the next. So that was great stuff. Really proud and excited about that. And that was kind of an answer, not really an answer, somewhat of an answer to us losing that 30 minutes. Now, with that 30 minutes, it was so much more targeted and detailed, because it was a whole realm of moving kids from this one teacher. We're going to move them over here with other like kids, and they were getting some incredible support. But that was also an area where we could enrich student learning, meaning if we have kids that are in the green, we want to extend what they are learning. We want to go a little deeper with what it is so they can make different kinds of connections. And that is, I think, one of the things that I personally miss, because I feel like we did lose that piece, and it's harder to figure out ways where we can continue to extend learning for students who are already very high performing. It just is, especially at a school like ours, because the overwhelming majority are going to be high performing. But that's why we also focus on the growth piece, is because we want everyone to grow. So yes, we do have those targeted strategies, and it's built within our strategic plan and our continuous improvement plan. We'll continue to do that. But one of the big things, Raj, that we do as a strategy is we try to keep our class sizes small, so our teachers have more individual time with them in small groups or just one-on-one. That is huge for us. It works sometimes, and it doesn't work all the time. Like, there are kids who in our building, they function better in, I hate to say it like that, in a class of 24 kids compared to a class of 17 or 18. It's interesting. Even some teachers, I remember when we first started at Springdale Park, one of the things that that we wanted to do was bring down our class sizes for our upper grades. And do you remember you're like, oh, 29 kids, that's fine. That's fine. I was like, what?
Yeah.
It seemed, but
30.
she was used to that because she was in middle school, right?
Yeah.
But when we were like, oh, well, we're going to try to get 18, 19, 20 kids, she was like, oh, really? But after having that experience where you can really support them, you know, more individually, I think you change your tune, Ree, a little bit. It definitely helps lighten the load.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But yeah, those are some of the things, Raja, that we would do. We also hire, like I mentioned to you, we've got Miss English, who's a single ESOL teacher covering all grade levels, right? There are other teachers in our building that are ESOL endorsed or certified. So we make sure that our ESOL students are with a homeroom teacher that has that endorsement and understands the level of proficiency. We've been pushing, even this year, we have teachers in a gifted cohort where they're getting their gifted endorsement, because the best practices that you learn in gifted instruction, they're best practices for any kid, regardless of them qualifying for gifted or not. So we're being very thoughtful and strategic as it relates to those kinds of things and giving teachers those opportunities. And I think that having more teachers in our gifted endorsement, kind of opening their eyes to different ways of doing things that actually are a little bit more deeper in terms of challenging students' thinking, I think it's going to help move the needle. But is it going to move the needle tons? No, probably not. But you know what? We're going to take every little bit, one day at a time, right? What was it that we were saying in the beginning of the year? 1%. We're going to do better, at least 1% each day is what our goal would be, right? 1% each day. But yeah, so there are some definite things that we're going to continue to do. The second part of your question was, remind me.
Kind of more on, your experience with summer school and whether
Oh, yeah.
that's a successful targeted strategy for VHE students. And
Yeah. So I feel like I'm on the spot for this question. This one is harder for me, Raj, and Raj, let me tell you why. It's mainly because all of the schools come together under one building, one roof. And it's great to give the kids the opportunities to meet other kids from the cluster. I love that piece. I think that's great. But it does make it a little bit more difficult instructionally when you're pulling in 5 schools with, let's say, 2 of the schools doing something similar, the other 3 doing their own thing, right? So it's harder to kind of meet some of those needs. The district chose to invite students at, I want to say it was their fall map score. If they scored a certain level in fall map, even though summer school is in the summer, they were invited to come to summer school.
Yeah.
Now, from a parent perspective, I would say, hey, I would send my kid to free summer school any day because we took them the entire day for the entire month of June. And the work that was happening there, it was good work. It's just harder to target that work and to support individual kids if you don't know them as well because they are from other locations. I hope that makes sense. And it's not an elitist attitude. I promise you that.
Of course, yeah.
It's just more of there's a part of me that kind of wishes that we could still do summer school for our kids, rather than bringing everyone under one roof.
Because it's such a short period of time, too. You only have
in such a short period of time, you just don't get to know them as well. But some of the activities, like with their Power Up program, STEAM activities, et cetera, that they were doing, that was great across the board, regardless of where you came from. So I do think there's some added benefit to it. I just feel like we could do better with it. So, but that's my thought. Any other questions, friends? All right. Oh my gosh, it's 6 o'clock. I told you, I'm so sorry. It's probably too much. All right. So, okay. So we're going to change gears just a little bit. We're going to talk about stakeholder engagement at VHE. So this is what our district is wanting and asking us to do. So Go Teams play a vital role in decision-making that impacts the school's direction, priorities, and overall success. Stakeholder engagement, and we're talking about all stakeholders, not just teachers, administrators, parents, but kids included, community members. It ensures that the decisions we make reflect the real needs and voices of the people that our schools serve. We are stronger when we bring others into the work, when we listen, learn, and co-create with families, students, staff, and community members. I really do appreciate and love this because to my heart of hearts, I honestly do believe this. And I think in today's time and age, this is something that we need to be more cognizant of, is that we are stronger when we bring more into the fold and we are more considerate about that. So the Go Team's goal is to brainstorm ways to involve the school's key stakeholders in our work. So what they're asking us to do is to answer these three questions. Number one, inform what is a fun way or an unexpected way to keep stakeholders in the loop. All right. Again, all stakeholders. Input, what's a meaningful way to get their ideas or their feedback? How do we get the feedback of parents, of kids, et cetera, teachers? And then inviting them, how can we bring them into the work, not just the audience? So they're really wanting us to push on the creative part of this, being as specific as possible, but then pushing past just our usual answers, right? And we do have answers that we kind of go to. But so this is what they've asked us to consider and to do. I don't know how much time, if we'll be able to dedicate tons of time to this today, but what I would like to be able to do is, if I share this with you all for our next meeting, would it be possible for you to come to the table? You would have homework, all right? We're going to ask your kids to sit there at the table with you to help you with your homework. For you to think about this on your own and then come in and give us what your ideas are. In terms of just making sure that everyone is involved. One of the best things that I think happened during COVID was the need to connect with students in a way that we had never done before at Springdale Park. One of the ways that we did that was was torture to me. No, not really. I was not a fan of staying at home, but one of the ways that we did that was we started our morning news program. And the reason we did that was because we wanted our kids to still feel connected to the things that were happening at our school, even when they were at home virtually learning, right? And it was a really good way. And it's something that kind of developed, and we still do to this day. Even the other elementary schools are doing something super similar as a result of it. So in my mind, having students report the news and what's coming up and how to be involved is a fun way for our kids to get involved, right? And to learn something a little different, but learning it from their peers. We want to be thoughtful and creative that way about some of our other stakeholders, our families, staff, community, et cetera. But how do you feel about that? Can I send this to you all, and then with homework, you'll come to the table next week, and then we'll call on you? Rebecca, what do you think?
Well, I just wanted to suggest that if there's a way we could do it, maybe in a Google Doc, or I don't know if there's a SharePoint link y'all send out, 'cause it sounds like districts moving to Teams, but if there's some way we could like see each other's responses and, not have to consolidate multiple.
Yeah, I mean, I'm totally all about that. We can most certainly do that. So what I'll do is I will put this into a Google Doc, and I'll make sure to share it so you can all just drop your thoughts in there. And you can either write your name by your thoughts or whatever or not. But yeah, but I think it's important to capture that and then to come back to the table and have the conversation. All right. Okay, so we're going to do that. So I'm very curious to see what we come up with. This is also one of our goals as a school, just to kind of let you know. We really want to do something that is more concrete and detail oriented for family engagement per grade level. Last year, we did a night of third grade family engagement where third grade families came. They had dinner. I don't know if we can afford that this time, but they had dinner. And then they did rotations with our reading teachers and with our math teachers. Our reading teachers took them through examples of what kids have to do with Georgia milestones. And for many of them, it was the first time where they were like, oh my gosh, they have to read this and read this, compare and contrast, answer these questions, and then write an essay about it. They're like, this is hard. Yeah, it is. It is hard. But these are things that we practice with them daily and the kids are capable of. But it was eye-opening for the families. And we did something a little different for fourth grade where we created things that parents could do with their fourth grader last year at home to kind of help them establish, better routines as it relates to what they could do in Georgia Milestones. So this year we've asked, or I've asked, I'm going to put it on myself, that every grade level come up with family engagement strategies that they are going to do something to try and get as many families out so they can be more part of what their kids are doing and better understanding of how to support their child. So we're going to be doing that this year, and that's one of our goals for the year. So, all right. All right, moving on. Leveling in FY25. So this is just our potential budget adjustment. So just to give backstory, Raj, this would be new to you. I don't know that, well, actually, I don't know that it's going to be super new to you, but it may be. But every year, clearly, we get a budget that we get in January. We develop our budget through March. Our Go team votes on that budget, and then that is the budget that we set for the next school year. So the 25-26 budget. We were projected to have 652 children in our building, all right? Based on that 652, we receive a monetary amount per child that helps fund what we are going to do at VHE throughout the entire school year. But what happens if we do not meet that projected number, right? If we don't meet that number, that means we have to give money back. All right, so just to kind of give you an idea of where we are, our projected enrollment was 652. At our 10-day count, so this is not 15-day count, our 10-day count, we were at 631 students. All right. So we're 21 students under projected at this point. We 21 somewhere. I don't know where they are. We miss them and wish they'd come back. But with that being said, we have to now, well, eventually after the 15-day mark, we will have to give money back per child. So we have to give back approximately $6,000 per child. So if we keep this difference of 21, roughly 6,000 times the 21 equates to $125,000 that we have to give back to the district. I wasn't sure what to do because, again, we were not prepared for the additional 80 students that we got last year. Oh, incidentally, 822 is the, oh, is that right? 20, whatever the 15-day count is, Friday. When we got that 80 additional kids that we were not expecting, last year we received a lot more money as a result of that. Incidentally, I don't know if y'all know this, but we ended up with over 100 kids that were not in our original projection by the end of the school year. It was a ton. But because we were so just off the mark as it related to our projection, I wanted to keep a good amount of money within our reserves. Reserves is just a line item in our budget where we're going to say, hey, we're keeping this for a rainy day. If we meet the 652 projection, hey, we get to play with $140,000 to figure out how we want to use it. Well, so I'm glad we put that in there because we have to give at this point 125. We've got it in there. So hey, we've got $15,000 that I get to play with. I'll take it. It's great. But I'm glad that we did choose to put a larger amount in our reserves. I have a feeling that as a new school located where we are, that I think our projection is going to probably be strangely volatile on some level. We just don't know until we know. And then there's still after Labor Day where we're hoping and anticipating that more kids will come in and register. Hopefully, we shall see. But that is where we fall. I mentioned this briefly yesterday to our teachers because I knew we were going to mention this at Go Team, and I didn't want any of our teachers thinking, oh my gosh, does that mean I was the last person hired? I'll be the first person let go. No, we will be able to maintain everyone right now as it relates to our enrollment. So I'm happy about that overall. Any questions about this piece? That's the only piece I wanted to share regarding the budget. We'll find out our September, mid-September is when we will find out what our true amount of money that we will be able to keep. We'll figure out what our true enrollment number is at that point, and then how we might want to move forward with any additional money. Questions? Melissa, surprised? I was surprised. I've never been under projected. I've never. So this is very strange to me. It's new territory to me.
It's new for sure.
Yeah, but what I will say also is that Morningside is under projected right now. They're about, I think he said 24 kids. Spark was Hope Hill was the only school that was not was Mary Lynn. They have more students than what they were expecting. So that's just in our cluster. And at Howard, I think, oh my gosh, I don't even know. It sounds like there's a ton of students that they have. Does anyone know?
That
Do you know?
sixth grade class was significantly bigger than they thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Big one.
Yeah, so they're
Did
over
we-
projected, and I think Midtown High School is as well.
I mean, there's certainly like lower enrollment mirrors national trends, but I'm curious, but it's weird for us. I'm curious if you're seeing the like if there's like grade by grade trends or if there's nothing really to make further meaning of.
So I'm glad you asked that, Rebecca. I was curious about that too. So no, we are literally seeing it. So it's honestly, it's very equitable from in all grades. It's the weirdest thing to me. And I say that only because typically if you see higher enrollment, that's because you may have more kindergartners or more first graders. But this year, strangely enough, we've added, I would say, anywhere between 8 to 12 kids per grade level that we were not that are new to us, brand new to us. And I'm talking first, second, third, fourth, fifth, while still losing 21 kids. I don't know what happens, but I want to believe that in the Midtown neighborhood, we typically see families move in, stay temporarily, and then they're out, or they move in, stay temporarily, then they move to a home with a yard in a neighborhood that's not a high rise. So we're going to see that up and down. But no, I'm not seeing any real common trends, particularly at VHE. We're seeing it happen across the board pretty equitably. It's very strange to me. I need to ask. We do have a projector person in the district that and I need to reach out to him and ask him to explain like what he is seeing and what he thinks about it, because to me it's perplexing. I don't know.
If anybody wants to dive deep into that, they have a lot of projections information, like really dense info in some of these facilities presentations they've done, where you can look at sort of the bubbles and it where it's lower and higher. So
Yeah.
if anybody gets bored and wants to do some deep reading, it's there.
Yeah. And just so for everyone else's, for your knowledge, even though we have 631 students enrolled, that number does not include our pre-K. We do not include pre-K numbers. So you add 25, we are at 656, but our projection is also without pre-K. So just for context, we are over 650. All right, just a couple of other announcements. And Melissa, feel free to chime in here regarding the comprehensive long-range facilities plan. But the district wanted us just to remind and let people know that that if you are interested in learning more about what the long-range plan is as it relates to facilities, we had someone at our principals meeting today talk us through, some of the things that they're really heavily considering. For example, they were discussing for any school that is a dual campus, removing dual campuses and making just one school all under the same roof. There's only a handful of schools that are dual campus. I think Brandon, Jackson, Sarah Smith, Sutton Middle School. I think that's it. Yeah, they're all in the North Atlanta cluster. But with that being said, they're definitely contemplating removing the dual campuses and putting them under one roof, but that would require potentially rezoning their schools, right? So that's one of the considerations. And then, of course, there are some other considerations of schools that are potentially to be closed because of lower enrollment, size, capacity issues, et cetera. So, for example, I know that there are some schools that have maybe like a 700 to 800 school capacity, but they're at the 250 mark of students in that building. So would it make sense to continue in that building or simply to rezone and place them at other schools that are already established? So these are the things that the district is considering. Their upcoming meetings. I would encourage you all as a GO team to stay informed. Otherwise, I think Melissa is our cluster rep, where I feel pretty confident that she's going to keep her finger on the pulse of what's going on. Melissa, anything else?
Those are sort of what they're talking about for this like first stage, which is the first few years. And then the other third thing they were saying was building additions where necessary for over enrollment. And that was really the only time we're listed on the slide. There are a bunch of schools that are sort of listed out in certain clusters, like these 4 elementary schools will become 3. There's nothing in the Midtown cluster except for a potential addition to Midtown that's been presented right now. But that is a living document, they've said over and over. And actually, in the next day or two, they're going to put out the more formal list of options. So we'll see that within the next 2 days. And then on Monday, there's a public meeting where they'll go over those in more depth. So,
Okay.
Have they
So,
addressed?
so yeah, we'll find out more, but I encourage you all to participate if you are able. And then last but not least, wanted to save the date. This is from the Go Team people in our in central office. They are inviting you to attend G3 Summit, the Go Grow Govern 1-day conference where in essence they kind of take you through a number of different things just as you learn about not only the district but the school. And it's another way that they want to do whatever they can to have engagement with stakeholders. And as our Go Team, you are the advocates for our community, our school, and you represent a lot of people. But just again, I want to make sure that we say this. You represent the community and the adults in the community, but you also are representing the teachers in this community and our students, most importantly, within this community. So if it's something that you're interested in doing, we hope that you're able to attend that. But that is all I got. So 18 minutes over, not too bad, but anything else from anyone?
I
All
have
right. Oh,
something
go ahead, Carolyn.
fun we need to. We have to present from last meeting.
Can you guys hear Carolyn, or is it just me?
I cannot.
She's cutting out.
It's going in and out for me as well.
Same here.
Carolyn Technology does not want you to speak. I'm kidding. Let us know if you're there, Carolyn. I don't want to leave her.
All right, Ms. Valdiga, did you? I feel like you wanted to say something earlier and we have cut you off.
Oh, okay. I was like, maybe my headphones aren't working. It's not really pertinent to this group. I was just wondering, those dual campuses, where would they put these combined single campus schools?
they were with those North Atlanta elementaries, they were saying like, so Brandon, Jackson, Sarah Smith, if there are 6 facilities, it might turn into 4 separate elementary schools versus 3 dual campuses. So that's sort of an ongoing conversation, but you'll probably see more this week on what they're thinking.
Got it. Thank you.
Got it. And Carolyn says, oh, we need to approve the minutes from the last meeting. So that's what she was trying to tell us. Anybody like to make a motion for that?
Motion to approve meeting minutes?
They are on the website. They are there and they were very thorough. So they're very, very good. All right. Is there a second?
I
Yeah,
second the
second.
motion.
All right, y'all. I had to plan on the minute vote because I was absent last time. Makes sense. All right. That is it. Raj, thank you for your time. We're really glad that you're a part. Leah, thank you for
excited.
hanging out. I'm glad that
Thank
you're with
you.
us too.
Thank
And everyone else, we love you. Thank you for all you do for our school. We'll see you soon.
Bye, thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.